Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we are talking about the gap between the yes and actually getting paid. And the things that I want you to take away is that it's different for everybody, but it shows up in your world in some way, shape, or form, whether it's building partnerships or relationships, however that shows up. We all have some nuggets for you here. If you know someone else who is building relationships or selling in partners or channel partners, share this with them. There's some good information that they can implement tomorrow. If you're on social media, please follow us. Everything is at Sales Throwdown. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. In the D corner, we have Clint the Cleaver Bigelow. In the I corner, we have Al the Gambler Daniel. In the S corner, we have Nan the Promoter Foreman. In the C corner, we have John Small Mountain Hill. Let's get ready to throw down!
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we are talking about kind of an interesting thing that happens for lots of people. If you're selling kind of individual products, or if you're working with partners, or if you're working on like a relationship and things like that, there's sometimes this gap that pops up from, yeah, we'd like to work with you on the next one, and when that next one actually starts. And of all the people here, I probably have the least experience of having to deal with this now in my current role. I know it pops up a lot for Nanette and Al and Clint. But this is important. How do you stay top of mind whenever they've got established relationships and habits? Oh, I need this. I just pick up the phone and call the old contact and not the new contact. So with Clint starting kind of in a new role and a new city and stuff like that, I'm curious, how does that work?
Yeah, I think I'm on the brink of a lot of those relationships right now where it's kind of late for me to come into a lot of the stuff that we have going because it's new customers for me. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new market. So I'm running into currently a whole bunch of people that say, oh, man, that sounds great. I like the way you're doing business. Let's do it on the next one. I can't get you in on this one. Or, hey, you guys, you came in mid-stride to this project. We had to pick somebody else. Yeah, we'll use you on the next one for sure. Kind of to your point is, how do I get that commitment that's a true commitment, not just, all right, brushing me off? Because that's a lot of times people say that, whether you're, selling to consumers with a product or you're selling business to business, it's really easy for somebody to say, hey, we'll use you on the next one. Call me in 6 months. Mm-hmm. So, salespeople, we tend to run out of that meeting with, we think we're on a high. We feels great. Let's go put this in our CRM, log it as a win. And we do it, right?
So excited.
Yeah. And that happens a lot in Nanette and Al's realm as well.
Sure.
But, specific to any conversation you have around sales, or if you're furthering a process, if you're not on the calendar, you have nothing.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
Meaning, and it doesn't have to be on the calendar for any other reason than a touchback or a look-see or a conversation centered around where are you? Can I call you back and get a gauge on how this process is going forward? But so many times we walk away thinking we have something and all we have is blue sky.
Well, because you make assumptions. Oh, this guy said this thing, or he's ready to go now. And
that's on you because you didn't get clarification for what he meant by in a little while or the next time. Well, okay, when you say that, are we talking 6 months? Are we talking a year? First of all, get a time frame. And then after that, figure out where your checks and balances. It's kind of like when an airplane leaves New York City going to Europe. They don't just fly directly to their destination. They get so far and they have a contingency plan. And then they get a little bit further and there's and part of it's what's our escape route? When do we call it over and go to Greenland or Iceland to try to land this thing versus going into the ocean? Yeah. And then you get to a point of no return. So all of those things should be in a sales acumen as well.
Right. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many times in the beginning I was super excited about the yes, but didn't get the next step. You have to have steps, just like what I was saying. Just make sure you capture that, because The minute I realized I need to know the next step, it was boom. Things just started progressing. You have to know your like just exactly what all the guys are saying. You have to know your next step always.
And when I learned that, right, because I'm guilty of this, right? I mean,
We all
whenever I was working for Al, and a doctor was like, "Yeah, we'll take a look at using you on the next one." I'm walking to that thing, fist pumping, thinking, "Awesome," But
Well, not to interrupt you, but before we move, but it's not you knowing the next step. It's the sales product knowing that next way, and that it's on their calendar because you have a next step. But if you didn't convey it or communicate it and get some feedback, then you walked out with blue sky again.
It has to be a mutual in your relationship. You know what your next step is. You know where y'all are what the goal is for each of you.
So for Nanette specifically, right? Once I learned that, I'm like, oh, this is just a question I ask now, and I have no problem asking this question. I'm sure Clint doesn't either, right? But for you and a little bit for Al, right? If someone says yes, and you need to ask this next question, do you feel any pressure to, I don't want to ask this because it's gonna
not anymore, because once you have failure from it, you go, oh God, that did not work. They maybe genuinely had yes, but if it's not written down and you've got it on there, like Al said, on the calendar, then they might forget, they might be busy, someone else might come in. But once you get a commitment, people want to honor their commitment in most cases. So you're going to get that next step.
Let's talk about that next step real quick, because lingo is everything. How we say what we're about to say, staying away from that traditional sales tonality is very tough, because this is an instance where a lot of us want to dive into that. Okay, so if for example, you gave me a yes, next week I'm going to put you on the books for Tuesday at 3:00. Is there anything that maybe or might come up that might not, see how salesy it starts to get, right? So for example, a lot of the times when I have to ask that question, that's tough for me. John, you said earlier, it might not be tough for you to ask. Well, it's only tough because I don't want to sound salesy. And I don't want to get out of all the good work that I just did to get to the yes. I don't want to ruin it over a stupid comment. So for me, it's a little more, it's more like, hey man, I'm going to hit you up next week. I need you to commit. Like, seriously, man, like don't flake out on me,
Oh man. Okay.
And it's like, oh, hey man, dude, I'm not going to flake out on you. Look, come on, man. We all do that, right? It's a little more conversational, a little more, of course, it's what bonding rapport you've built with this customer depends on how you can ask that question, because there's some really professional people that need that regimented tone.
To me, what you sound like, you're not groveling.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You're
like,
just
hey,
saying,
man, we made an agreement. Don't flake out on me, man.
And, well, but even a little less in your face for me would be, what's your schedule look like next week? Right? I mean, you just go to the assumption of, you've said yes, we're doing the dance. What's next week look like for you? If Tuesday morning's open, how about I give you a call then? Let's put it on the calendar and I'll check back in. Yeah, and
works great.
And that's sort of that upfront, scenario where you're getting a commitment. And like back to what Nan said, people want to honor their commitments. Yeah. Professionals do.
Well, I think it's funny because you just saw a very big shift between a high D and a high I really quickly in the same conversation, saying the same damn thing, right?
Yeah, right.
And so most of us are going to develop a pattern of how we're having this conversation. We should, right? We should set this conversation up from start to finish in the same manners. We should, develop, and as people start to communicate, you start to develop that speech pattern. That's how you end it too. That's how you move forward with it.
To what you said, you better know who you're talking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to sound like a jerk.
Yeah.
If the person is this really kind person, you're like,
but don't worry about screwing it up, guys. Yeah. At least you're doing it. At least you're reaching out saying, oh, I don't have a firm commitment here. Yeah. And just let it come out of your mouth. Well, how would we, and fumble with it, and they'll help you out. The other side's not going to sit there and make you do all the work.
No,
particularly if you've gotten to that point.
Right.
What makes sense as far as getting back in touch with you? I mean, there's 10 different ways to skin that cat. Now, if you think the guy's kind of iffy, well, maybe you need to back up and you're trying to close this deal too soon. So obviously have some awareness that you might have not gotten none yet, or you got a yes, but it really wasn't one, whenever they won't make a firm commitment for your next conversation.
I think what you said, what makes sense, I think that is a great question.
I love phrasing my questions around, hey, like, does it make sense? Because then it's not, I don't need you to do this. I'm not asking you to take this leap. Like, hey, does it make sense to work on this thing together? I love that. I love that phrasing.
For you, John, in your business selling CRM management, you actually deal with this, you say you don't deal with this a whole lot, but you deal with it in a little bit different realm in the fact that they don't need the product every month, like a monthly renewal. So, for example, in construction, you're going to do one construction job and then you're going to do another and you're going to do another and another.
Yeah.
That's growth. That's business. That's what you do for work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know on the second project, I didn't get you on the first one, but on the second one, do we have a shot? Do we have a yes? Can we work together? Are we partners? And if not the second, is it the third? For these guys, it's surgeries, right? Every surgery, they can potentially bring in a new equipment line and a new rep,
scripts
new
and
vendor.
bracing and
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Ancillary products.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, it's more about when they've done and used the potential that I sold them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've grown, right? Maybe now they needed 10 users and now they need 50 because they're growing, because your product helped them grow, right?
So you've broadened your reach. You're not just focused on that one moment.
Yours is more kind of on the upsell side of like making sure you're staying in contact and making sure that their products are still met because they're growing, right? And that and if you stay out of that, right? If you just let it go, you've sold it once and made my sell.
No, you bring up a really good point, because whenever I started the business, I really was kind of running away from something that was just like a one-time offer, which is kind of how I was viewing, setting up CRMs and creating a documented sales process. You're only going to use this thing once. And then when I started, I did like the first 4 or 5 of them. And then people periodically would come back and be like, okay, I need to make some adjustments. And I'm like, oh, now there's like a monthly maintenance plan that goes along with this and stuff. And then now the offering is we get you set up. If you want, we'll manage it and send you your numbers. It's kind of like a fractional sales manager role. And then periodically, once or twice a year, depending upon how much volume you have going through there, we can take a deep dive into that data and try to figure out how we can make improvements and do more with less and things like that. So there are some upsells, and then we do some like lead gen and some other stuff like that, because I don't like having just one offering that's transactional and then it goes away.
But that is what how a lot of people sell or should be selling. You've got your door opener, because what do you do in our business? Buy one thing from me and I'll find 15 other things that I want to talk to you about. You may not buy all of them. They may not all be a fit.
Yeah.
But it opens a door for further understanding about your business. You get more problems that you can solve once you get that door open and you're doing business.
Right. That's how you started. That one product.
One item,
I kind of compare this to the guy that sold me my last truck. He calls me
one with the hole in the gas tank, or the one without.
Oh, too soon. Hashtag too soon.
Oh, sorry guys, that's inside.
Danger.
Well, that surely wasn't his fault. No, but this guy calls me, once a month, once every, especially on the holidays and the birthdays and stuff. He'll call and just say, "Hey man, how you still like a new truck? You still love it?"
That's good follow up.
It is. It's good follow up. I know the reason why he's doing it.
Of course,
because I live in the world, and you're kind of an idiot if you don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. I know he's trying to get me to buy the next best thing. I know he's trying to get me to come back in and trade up and do all these things. That's great. But if he's really good at what he does, all he's doing is making sure what he sold me 6 months ago, 6 years ago, is still, on the same. We're all on the same page.
He's maintaining the relationship.
He is maintaining, but the point of it is that if he doesn't do that, when I go to buy my next truck, he doesn't exist.
Well, because the way that most people do it is they follow up on the anniversary date.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's been a year.
Yep.
And because you haven't called this person they have no idea who the hell you are anymore.
Absolutely.
And why are you calling me?
Who are you again? Why did you do that?
At least though he's following up with a consistent cadence, so that way most people don't have their walls up as much as you do.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about him though is when I do buy another truck, I'm going to him.
Absolutely.
I mean,
right?
Why else would I go anywhere else? I've already established.
Or at least he gets the first
right
right of refusal.
Oh,
if you can't do the deal, now maybe I have to go down the road.
Absolutely.
But wouldn't you love it if all your business gave you the first look at their next item? I would have a private jet. I wouldn't be flying commercial.
I really think that some of that comes down to like, what's your intention? Is your intention just to sell this guy and make the commission and then on to the next one? Or are you trying to form relationships?
Are you being smart?
Now, I will give you the backside problem to some of this that happens in my industry is that don't be the annoying mosquito either, right? Yeah. Because I will sell to you, or I'll give you a chance as a buyer. I'll give you a chance if you're that annoying salesperson. It's not going to be the big one, and it's not going to be a bunch of them. It's going to be the littlest one I have so that I got you to shut the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, right? It happens. I would expect it happens in Doc and Nan's business.
Why would you do that as opposed to just saying, hey, look, you are pissing me off. I'm over this.
Because
get out of my office.
Very few people are in your face. People pretend to be.
I
It's
know,
like
but-
that.
Oh, for
Have
me,
you met Clint?
For me, okay.
Oh, for
I'm just saying.
no, he's saying
No, I'm saying as a generic
Clint's
buyer.
sliding,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly. He's not.
Don't look at no.
No, he's talking about the vast majority of us.
Oh, sure.
And the truth is, you just don't want to be a total jerk. You put up with the annoyance, and then, like you said, you toss a little bone so they go away for a little bit before they come back.
It also goes to your leadership side, your sales management guys, or your business development managers, whatever you call them. Setting those, I need you to go hit this guy once a week, and blah 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 blah.
Oh
blah.
yeah.
Right. So they go and they get their quota. What they don't realize is that they're annoying the piss out of the customer, and when they do finally make a sale, it's going to be very small.
Oh,
In
so
our
true.
business,
So true.
it blows your relationship up. And once you've
Absolutely.
pissed the head guy off, because there's only one, there's not a committee, it's one guy, and it's called the physician that you're selling into. If you disrupt him in that way,
Agree.
what happens is you get silenced, man. It goes, the line goes dead.
Yeah, when I was selling pharmaceuticals, there was a lead doctor that everyone in the Metroplex wanted. And I cannot tell you how many times the people from the big pharmaceutical companies would get shut down out of that office. They were not allowed back there. And I got, and I think I've told this story before, this note just saying she can come in anytime. She doesn't have to go to the front. And it was only because I wasn't obnoxious. Just what y'all are talking about, where you're just like in someone's face every week, because that's what the big pharmaceutical companies required of their
Because you're not
salespeople.
always there to make a sale. You're there to take a
Build
pulse
relationship.
and build a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And,
Or
and if you don't
Give some value that's worth giving.
Exactly.
right.
It
It
doesn't-
needs to be a pain in the butt.
because you've made that sale or you've got that initial contact where they've bought something from you, be back in there, but be a presence of value, not one of annoyance.
Yeah.
And know if you are and back
Right.
away from that and find a different pathway or change something in yourself to where you're not so damn annoying and driving
Right.
these people the other way. And you'll know if that's happening because you'll have a sale and then silence.
Yeah.
A sale. And if you're not thinking if you just think it's your industry, most of the time you're wrong.
And it comes at the end of your desperation, right? Like you're so desperate you would do anything for that job and you get the sell.
Yeah.
And then you get so desperate 6 months again, you get the sell.
Yeah.
It's the same cycle, right?
Yeah.
And they're selling to you because they know that.
Mhm.
And you've cut your numbers so much that it's hard for them to even say no at that point. But you have to make a sale because you're there every day. You put in all this work. You've annoyed
Yeah.
the shit out of them so bad.
Yeah.
Like that's the wrong way to do this after.
Absolutely. Right.
Right. And for me, I will tell you as a high D, this is the worst part of my game
What do you mean?
to keep in contact after I sell it.
Oh, because
I'm
because
finished.
D's,
It's over.
because D's out of the box are not
We
are
did
not
it.
relationship people.
We did it. High five. All right. It was successful. Like I'll talk to you later.
High five.
But as you stated earlier, you continue for the next
I'm just
project.
well, I'm saying that it's not easy for me.
Okay.
Like it's
All right.
it's a necessity that I know that I have to do, and I know that it's got to be a part of my step. Once I, even let's just say after we get a PO, we do a successful construction job. It is so hard for me to keep that relationship going because I'm completely task driven, and I don't care about your emotions, and we did good, successful. Let's move on, right? And I'm very much that way. So until you have another one, why are we talking? What's the
Yeah.
point of this?
Absolutely.
Oh,
But
yikes.
but I will tell you that because I don't do that, I don't do as well as I could.
Yeah.
So you do see the values.
Oh, there's a huge value,
Yeah, it's just
right?
not built into your
It's just
schematic, right? And just-
internally in my own mind, this is not something that's natural for me, and it's something that I really have to work at.
but that goes back to each one of us has one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning from our own dynamic, we don't do
Confrontation
so.
versus relationship building. Like
Yeah.
I love confrontation, but I hate that relationship
Yeah,
side.
and I'm all about relation, and I want to minimize confrontation. I mean,
Absolutely.
but those things happen, and so
But you gotta have
sometimes
both.
I sometimes have to stand up to people that, I'm not probably the best at it, and I have to work through that.
Well, and you don't necessarily have to do it yourself, right? So if you have
Well,
a-
and I was about to
Oh
say,
yeah,
I usually hire
there's a
that
whole
out.
company structure
Yeah,
absolutely.
that takes it off of the person who closes the deal, and that's why most marketing agencies have got account managers, right?
Yes,
They're not
absolutely.
closing that deal. They're not
No.
bringing the relationship in or anything else. You have a sales team for that, and
That's
then as
right.
soon as they onboard, they're like, hey, good job, buddy.
That's
Go
right.
get the next one. Stop talking to this person because you're going to ruin it.
And that's a good, and that's
Very
good. I'm just not large enough to have a
Sure.
marketing and an
Sure.
onboard.
No,
Well,
I get
Nan and I work in unison on some accounts, and that's where Nan comes into play a lot of times, and I'm able to back out of the situation.
It's a good point though, is that you may have to sell through Nan. She may
Oh.
be your vessel or vice versa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I run into a lot, is that because I'm brash and harsh and upfront, I may not connect with this customer at all, but I have 3 or 4 guys on my team that these guys match make really well, and I have to kind of cheer from the sideline as saying, hey, I need you to get this question answered. I don't care how you do it. I don't care whatever language you guys are speaking, because it's Chinese to me. Go out there and find the answer to this question and bring it back. I don't have to be in the room. I don't even care to be in the room. I'm trying to get to a common goal for the team and trying to win, right?
Is that
Team. That's the big
well?
point.
But so I have 2 questions, right? So before you had done this work about knowing who you are and knowing all your stuff, if you heard someone talking about how important follow up was to like relationships and stuff, how did you view that?
Well, I didn't probably know what it was,
Okay.
honestly. But I also know like after action reports are huge,
Yeah.
coming from the military side of things, and especially combat. Like if you're not learning from your mistakes and your
Absolutely.
weaknesses and also your strengths, if you're not categorizing all that stuff into, to move forward, it's big. And also maintaining relationships, right? So you have a success. Let's just a win, right? You have a huge win with a group of people. You need to, I think you need to really let that blossom, right? Because it could be something fantastic. If you let it go, it's going to wither and die.
Yeah.
So I think I understand, even going back as a kid, like I understand, maintaining those relationships. It just doesn't come natural. It's something I have to really dig for.
And do you struggle with letting other people like
I don't.
really?
As a really
I don't either.
as a high D.
Well,
I would-
mean, it makes sense to me that you wouldn't struggle with that. I find it kind of surprising that he's okay saying, okay, cool, you got the ball, you run with the ball.
well,
Because
as, lo-
I think
as
it's
long
clear.
as they follow my plan,
Oh, there it is.
right? So
Okay.
it's different, right? So it's not the only time that I really feel that I have to jump in there and get it done myself is when I feel that other people are
You
inadequate
see
enough to
something
do it.
slipping, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I have to go
Or
in
you
there and
find
get it
some
done.
feedback that's
But-
reflective of a poor team or
Yeah.
somebody missed the mark.
What I'm realizing now, and maybe it's just getting a little bit older, being a father, being a lot of bit of different things, is that I might be the guy letting it slip. There's the other side of the coin, right? Is maybe my team needs to take this over because I'm the roadblock,
Excellent.
right?
Very good.
Well, or better yet, is it that because it in my ripe old age, I find that I know that I don't handle it very well.
Handle
okay?
what?
Like gatekeepers. So Nan makes the first approach if we're ever doing a joint like venture into an office. Sometimes I get annoyed, and I know it in myself, and it reflects in my speech. And it is, you have those little things that they don't come out as well as they could if somebody else did them.
Mhm.
And it's not calling yourself weak. It's just knowing that that's just not your forte,
Oh, for sure.
and finding a way to work around it. Guys, you're not going to be great at everything. You should be great at most things in your job. But if you know that you're deficient, or something sets you on your ear and ruins the rest of the process for you, find a workaround, whether it's another person to listen, right, to the conversation. If you're talking through these sales processes, if you bring somebody else in, they can hear things that you don't hear,
Absolutely.
right? And from a different perspective, so that your take is now, when you come out, you debrief, and you think it was one way, and they say, well, no, I kind of perceived it another way. And you're like, well, I thought it might be. Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me that.
Mhm.
Right. Just food for thought.
Interesting. Because so in website world, with the old company, we had moved away from just cold calling individuals and small businesses and everything, and started exclusively focusing on agencies. And hey, we're not full service. We don't do all the marketing stuff. We just build websites. How do you guys handle that now, right? And trying to build these relationships with those people, and everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, man, this sounds awesome. We'll get you on the next one." And so then I'm walking around thinking I've got this huge pipeline of deals, right? And then eventually you get to that day of like, man, none of these people who said they were going to use me are actually using me. What is going on? And
Wait a
so
second. There should be a basket of next ones, right?
Exactly.
And you should show that off.
Yeah.
You really should. Guys, you should have this basket, and every time you hear a next one, you have this little emoji, and you throw it in there, and then show everybody who comes in and goes, how's it going? And then you take them and they go, look how many next ones I have.
Go spin these.
Yeah, exactly. And then try to pay your bills at the end of the month.
Yeah,
See
well,
how
that's
that
right.
goes.
But I think it's important when you talk and putting stuff like this in your sales CRM, because you can get really hung up on the fact that your hit ratios and your wins are really small because you're putting all of these next ones in there, right? So qualifying your customers to go into your CRM and tracking devices it's really important for me to make sure that I have next steps accounted for and the thing is actually real that I'm putting in, because a next step of like, hey, next time we'll do it, and you go put that in your CRM, dude, that's a loss if you don't do anything with it.
Right.
Because you just brought up a good point. If you're not at least checking to see well, let me back up. If you're not at least saying, thanks for telling me that, Clint, but a lot of times when people say, I've got the next deal, they're just being polite and they don't want to tell me no.
Well, it's not
right?
anything
if you
until
don't
you qualified it.
Well, and if you don't challenge it, then you haven't tested what that next one means, right?
Now, I know why you're raising your eyebrows a little bit over there, because you're talking about KPIs, right? You're talking about, well, if I don't track all those times that I've talked, it's really hard to move forward. And I understand that. What I'm saying for is in your actual what's real and what we've won and lost.
Because, man, I'd have too many notes. I couldn't get
but
back
here's
to
the
it
deal,
all.
right? We got
that's-
okay, sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought. I don't want to
and
talk
I
over you.
understand. So that is, to me, and maybe I'm making this really complicated, but that's two very different tracking things, right? So
What do you mean?
so that is tracking things like that, where it's maybes
Be
and
specific. You're talking about maybes versus what?
actual qualified jobs that go into my pipeline that
All
I
right.
actually track financials.
But there's the confusion. Some people lump them all
That's what I'm
together and
saying.
think they're the same thing.
Yeah,
You're
they're not the
saying
same
that
thing.
you
They're
do
not.
divide them out.
I do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But most people don't.
No,
We're
I
going
agree.
to the guy
Right, I
who puts
know.
it all in one basket.
Well, and
Yeah.
I brought this up because I knew it
Yeah.
raised his eyebrows,
Ugh.
and I
All
knew
right,
he'd be
so-
excited.
when I feel like if you've got multiple things in play, right? You got direct to your client, and then you got partnerships and everything else. Those are separate pipelines, right? And so in the website world, whenever we had probably 10 to 15 different agencies throughout the U.S. that were sending us business, right? So I kept a pipeline of when was the last time I got a deal from one of these people? When's the last time I closed the deal from one of these people, right? So I'm maintaining how is this relationship actually looking, and not just like I feel pretty good about it, because that's
so hard
that's shit.
Analytics
Exactly.
about, okay, I
and
like
then
that.
whenever one of our partners sent us like an actual deal, okay, cool, we're going to work together on this one. I need you to call him and everything else. That would be in my direct client pipeline, right? So it's different. But I would call these agencies, hey, how do you handle this? Oh, we hate website work. Okay, tell me more about that. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, we'd like to use you for the next one. Okay, awesome. How often are you getting these kinds of deals coming in? Right, and then I'm starting to qualify around their tempo and their cadence, and then
That's that challenging question
Absolutely.
that I say you must ask
Yep.
to know whether this is a next one or it really should go into that category
Absolutely.
of the pipeline and the sale that you're currently working on, right?
And Clint is going to hate the way that I phrased this question, but this has made me
As his arms
He's
are
like
crossed
going-
over here,
Exactly.
directly
I mean,
facing you.
his
frontal
body
to
language
me.
is already saying that he's going to hate
I'll
it, right?
relax. I'll relax.
But
There we
hey,
go.
Clint,
I'm neutral.
a lot of times when I'm having these conversations, I talk to people and they say, "Yeah, we'd like to use you on the next one." When does that next one actually take place? And to not be the annoying salesperson, when should I follow up with you?
Actually works really well for me.
Oh,
I
really?
was gonna
Okay.
say, I thought that was great.
All
You've
right.
practiced.
Oh, man! The first 3 times I said that, it was brutal.
Because that goes back to my point that if you don't practice this, if you don't look at yourself and make those mistakes
With
like
other
you just
people.
admitted to have made, and we all have, where you stumble and you're like, I sound like a damn idiot.
Well,
Well, if you're not, then you're not growing. Nobody gets this right the first go around.
Exactly.
See, if you'd have
Except
added one question mark in there, in that, like, well, maybe, like that upbeat on your tonality,
You'd hate that?
I would have clicked done because now I doubt you.
Does he go high dogging?
Yeah,
That's
but like
that excitement that he reads, man.
you were very direct instead of questionable, right? So
Okay.
like, I mean, it just
And-
it's and
But
I look,
tonality is, that's a big part of what
It
we
is.
do, guys.
look,
But
I make a lot of bold statements. Like I'd hang up on you. Maybe I wouldn't. I'd
Yeah.
probably let you finish, and then I'd just drag you on because it's fun at this point. Drag
Yeah.
you on out as a buyer. But the point of it is that if somebody speaks to you directly, then you should speak to them directly, and vice versa. If you talk about compassion and love and all this stuff, then match
How
and
do you
mirror.
talk to those people?
I got it.
You get it? You do?
I say love. It's a different way of saying love.
Okay.
The love.
You say the porn version of love, right?
Yeah. The thing that I have been experimenting a lot in my calls is with kind of being vulnerable, right? Like not having to be perfect, kind of falling on the sword. And Nanette and Al and I have talked about this recently. But the thing that I'm noticing is I can't do any of that with Clint, because at least with Clint, and I don't know if this is specific to all Ds, I'd be curious to hear Clint's opinion on this. Any vulnerability to kind of further the conversation, like asking a question of like, is that really important? Right? That's kind of a vulnerable question, because I'm kind of opening up around this idea that I don't know your world as well as you do. And look at him; he's shaking his head. He hates that.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you're breaking into something that we were talking about, getting something done. We were on task. We were on point. We were headed that direction. And now you just ask me, and I know an open-ended question.
But I disagree, because you like to teach. You've got things that you know a lot about.
Sure.
And because we've had these conversations outside of this room where you're really engaging about how a process would happen and your analytics and things that are important to you.
Yeah.
So if we speak to tell me what's important, help me understand.
Yeah.
I think it's how you approach the individual with the same questioning.
Oh, absolutely, right. And that's where the tone comes in, right? Because I think if I'm talking to Clint and I say, "Hey, help me out," is that a lot? How does that impact the overall picture? I'm probably going to get a decent answer. Whereas, like if I'm talking to an S or an I would go.
Well, you can
more vulnerable.
rephrase that a little bit, right? So, hey, help me out here. I'm already kind of like, why the fuck do I have to help you out? I'm already going down that path, right? Versus saying, hey, just tell me, how does this impact you?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
So a little more direct.
Now I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you all about it, because that's what I do. I tell you.
You're not people driven, so you don't really want to help me. Whereas these two
guys out there, listen to this, because it is not what you say, it's what they hear that is important. So get out of your own effing way and know
but you're right. I can say the same question 14 different ways, and they all impact 14 different people different ways.
Yeah.
Because you're paying attention to who you're talking to.
Agreed, yeah. I
right,
mean,
but men, and a lot of people don't do that out there.
Well, that's what
a lot of people don't.
So it is scripts, right? And, like if I talk to Nanette about, hey, let's, as a team, help me here. As a team, really trying to build this partnership here. Can you tell me a little bit about what bothers you, keeps you up at night? That's very different. You can't say that to me because I'll shut down, right?
But I've heard you talk to Nanette, and he's being genuine when you say that's how you speak to Nanette, and it's it's out of kindness and matching her tonality.
So Clint, what do you want to hear? That same statement, but how do you want to hear it?
Tell me what keeps you up at night.
Okay, but wait a second. You just spoke to Clint the direct way.
Absolutely.
That is not natural for you, but you've dealt with him enough. I mean, because we've been around each other long enough.
Tell me exactly what you want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
You didn't you didn't mix words, and that's what he just said. So guys out there, listen to that. This is how we've been around each other long enough, so we've come to know each other. But when you walk in and you are first meeting someone, start picking up on their tonality, what they respond to.
That's such a huge
point. And shorten that. That's the professionalism we're hoping you guys find.
Well, that's what we are hoping you find from this group.
This is also why I like teams. I like to go into sales conversations with teams because did you? I missed that.
Well, I said when we go in there, she'll hear things that I don't hear.
I didn't.
It's the same implication. I didn't say it the same way.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I had 10 more words than you normally use.
You're right.
In a story.
That's what lost you, and that's why you didn't hear it.
But I do that a lot with, I'll go into a meeting with a customer, and I'll take somebody that's kind of opposite personality of me or different, just different. And I'll watch the customer's reactions with him and know, like, okay, he crossed his arms. He sat back in his chair. Man, he changed right then and there. Why did he change? And I've got to process that. It's really hard to do by yourself because you've got to
You're in it.
You're in it. And
Clint's walking by and the janitor's coming out from cleaning the car. Hey, come with me.
Yeah, you're with me.
Bring the mop, the bucket. Come on. We don't have time for that. Leave the gloves on.
Put this hat on.
Yeah, put this hat on.
I mean, I would. It'd be fun.
Why not? If it would work.
But I think it does. I think it really gives you an advantage. I do.
Absolutely.
100%.
So you were going to say something a moment ago, Nanette?
We can move on.
Well,
I don't remember what it was.
The thing that's so important to remember, right, is we have spent a lot of time together outside of this room, right? And so the way if you're really clued in and looking for it, you see the fact that, Nanette slides to that D to talk to Clint and will sometimes slide to the C to talk to me and stuff like that. So you're seeing this happen, right?
But what you're saying is we've all learned to deal with each other because
Absolutely,
because
for
we
sure.
had to make this a success or what we envision as a success.
The first 4 times meeting Clint, I was like, man, this guy's a dick.
And I never thought that. People are just different. And you go into these offices or these clients and you identify, and it's way easier than you think. It's just a matter of, that's why bringing someone with you so you can so teaming up is really important. Role playing is really important.
Let me throw something back at you, though, because you say we've spent a lot of time together. We've spent hours together.
I was just saying.
Right?
Yeah.
But not as much as...
In depth, we've only known each other maybe 6 months. And let me tell you, in my sales cycle, that's half. Right?
No, come on, man. Really?
I mean, really having good conversations?
Oh, yeah. I guess so, yeah.
Right?
In your business. Mine, it's much quicker than that.
What I'm saying is that you might be in that selling cycle where it may take you 6 months to develop relationships with your customer to even have conversations. So if that's what it took here, it took 3 months, maybe that's what it takes with your customer. Don't sell before you're ready.
But I think people are.
I like that.
There are a lot of people
That's
in
really good.
quicker sales arenas where the cycle's quicker. It just means you have to be better at analyzing these people, and maybe you don't have to go in as depth. In as deep because your project's not as big as what yours is.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Not as many moving parts. You're one-on-one. It's a yes or a no. Maybe the sale happens right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
So take this and use it to your advantage in whatever sales scenario you're in. Is what I'm saying.
When you're at the bunny ranch, and you got a girl that charges $100 versus $1,700, there's got to be
Where's this going?
There's got to be a little more conversation.
All right.
Oh, shit.
But
Moving
hold
on.
on. So
Hold
Clint,
on. You've been to the bunny ranch now. You want to tell me
hold
your
on,
story?
Hold on, no.
Where's this going?
Clint has actually made inadvertently a really good point here.
Thank you.
That the more top end your service or your product
Top end,
is.
excuse me.
Sorry,
Choose your words
sorry.
carefully.
I
Okay,
couldn't
go
think
ahead.
of any other way to put it in everybody's lingo.
No, that's fair. The more you want to charge for something, or the more at a premium your service or product is, the more
that
trust there
completely
has
went
to
over
be.
my head. Sorry, man. Yeah, of all people, I was just like,
of
where
all
is he
people.
bringing this up? Okay, now I know what you're
Right?
talking about.
If
Okay.
everyone else is selling this cup for like $40 and you want to sell this cup for $80, there's got to be more trust and more rapport with this person who, if you want them to buy it from you as opposed to just buying it from everybody else.
Or you know that
We're way off
picked
topic, but this is
they've
important.
picked a high-end
it is.
brand in a certain category,
Absolutely.
and the brand speaks for itself. So you cut to the chase and say, "You've got great taste there, mister. I see where you're going with this, and you know value." And boom, you hit it because of the brand gets you halfway there, right? Or 3/4 of the way
Absolutely.
there,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
Brand awareness is huge.
Or you find that some guy's a cheap ass and he's like, well, I'm not looking, they're shying away. They're going down the ladder. Well, bring them down the ladder. If that's where they really need to be and you're solving their problem and they're price conscious, get to it.
Yeah.
Right?
If you're
And that's where you say, sir, I guess you're looking for value, right? Come right this way. Let me show you where your money's going to be spent the best.
Well,
that guy bites on that all day long.
I'll simplify it a little bit better
Uh-oh.
than that.
Like I didn't. But
No,
okay.
not you. My
Back to the bunny.
previous conversation, my bunny ranch conversation. So
Oh, okay. No, go back there now that I know what we're
No,
talking about.
So, if you're a construction firm that
Sorry,
hires myself, but you also have to restock the toilet paper every week, right? That's 2 different sales, right? I'm
Sure.
coming to you from a $1 million point of view that you got to trust me to trust to your customers, and we've got to make this all work as a big partnership versus the guy that's selling toilet paper. We're selling to the same guy. He's making the same decision. The president of a company is signing off on this versus that. It's all expenditures, right? That conversation on selling toilet papers probably happens in about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Mine probably takes 6 or 7 months, but we're selling to the same person. We just have to realize what value we're bringing and what level of conversation that we need to have.
And
Oh,
every
absolutely.
rear's got to be white.
Every
So you
rear's gotta
know.
be- and they're both important.
Exactly. You know that they can't move without either one of them. And I
Absolutely.
mean move, right?
You want to fire up the office. Don't put toilet paper on the
Exactly.
walls.
Yeah, you'll have a mutiny on your hand
Absolutely.
pretty damn quick. Right?
So you were talking a minute ago about like shorter selling cycles and
Who's-
stuff.
you talking
and
that to me?
You,
Okay.
yeah, Al. And I took my brother-in-law to go to go with him to go buy a new car because he'd never done it before, was terrified, and he was like, "Well, John likes sales. I'll take him with me." And I was like, "Man, I'm down. Let's go."
Oh my goodness,
So,
how'd that go?
It was
You
interesting,
brought
right?
the whole team.
Yeah,
He's
we need to do that one day. Go help somebody buy a car.
Right.
Yes.
How much fun would that be?
I love my brother-in-law to death. Super
That's
super
just
amazing
before
guy.
you call him something
No, but here's the deal,
derogatory, right?
With
No,
all due respect.
right? He's anxious, right?
He's excited.
He's an anxious individual,
Oh,
right?
okay.
In certain,
Outside.
in certain
Oh,
situations,
outside
of that.
he
Okay.
doesn't like conflict. He is probably an S, right? I've never put him through the assessment, and it's hard with like really close family loved ones and everything. But I think he's an S before anything else. And so we go to this lot, and he's just terrified, right? He's just like, I don't want to talk to anybody or anything else. And it's one of those things where you pull up and you see the guy sprinting for the exits to be the first guy out there to like shake our hand and like claim us as his deal. And this guy comes out and he's like, "Hey," I said, "Yeah, we want to test drive this one." Right? I'm not screwing around with this guy, right? It's like cool. I'm taking a half day to go help my brother-in-law buy this car. We're getting this shit done. You know, I'm
Screw bonding and rapport.
absolutely. Hey,
It too.
this
Don't
is-
even need to know your
this is
name.
your
Where are the
deal
car
now.
keys?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, we want to test drive this one. And this guy, I mean, God love him. This is I guess a good question if you phrase it the right way. And he goes, and what's a good outcome? And I was like, mentally, it kind of set me back on my heels a little bit, right?
That's pretty good.
And the reason why I don't like it is because I think there's a better way to ask it, but because it broke the rapport so much, and I got mad. I got a little mad, right?
Okay.
And I said, "Well, buy the damn car." And he was like, "Okay, cool. Well, let me go get the keys."
Yeah,
right?
yeah, just checking.
Like, don't challenge me, dude. Like, we're here. If he had phrased it maybe 10% different, there would have been no break in the rapport. It just would have been normal conversation.
Difference between a seminar and training every day.
But what?
Yeah, that's true.
But
Right?
did you buy the car?
Yeah, we bought the car.
Okay, then he won, and it was okay. He took a risk.
Mhm.
Your being upset ultimately worked itself out.
Yeah.
And I only go back that for a real reason.
Mhm.
If you throw a challenge like that guy did,
Yes.
you take a very large risk of losing the sale.
Yeah.
And if you know that that's your risk to reward, go and do it.
Here's the deal.
And you may win a few, but
Yeah.
it's like being in Vegas. You know, you
Yeah.
could lose a lot.
I don't have any problem with asking a question that way. I think it's really smart because I think that as a car salesperson, you can spend a lot of time on test drives that don't ever actually go anywhere. So I don't have a problem with the question. The way that he phrased it to me, and I'm kind of in this nurturing state because I'm trying to look out for my brother-in-law, just did not fly for me. But it wasn't bad enough for me to like leave.
But what I heard you do is challenge and go right to this point. So maybe he was just matching your
Oh, that's a good
tonality
point.
and meeting you back with.
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he won. You bought the car. So
Why does it got to be a win or lose? It was
wait a
mutually
second. You
beneficial.
just
Because
But hold
he
on.
won. That's
Hold on,
why
though.
you don't want to.
I didn't walk in there with
No,
this
you won
idea of
too.
like, I got to win this thing.
no.
So,
That's not where I was going.
No,
with
but,
that.
okay.
no, but he
won
did.
the sale, right?
Yeah, he probably did.
You
Young
bought the
guy
car.
too, right?
Ugh.
Because I love talking to the guys on the test drive, you know, because they want to talk about all the features and benefits. And if you look down here, the screen is, and I'm like, man, how long you been doing this?
So-
And this
so-
guy goes like 2 months, and I said, how's it going so far? And he's like, struggling. I was like, okay.
Well, then y'all built some bonding rapport
Yeah.
after the first
Absolutely.
challenge.
I just don't
Good.
want to do the whole thing to where you're going to steer me to go looking at a car
Other
that
things, yeah.
because my brother-in-law knew exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
Right. So we walked in there and I was like, cool, I want to look at this car. And yeah, I don't know
But-
if I've told the story about going to the car lot and the guy was like, man, what are you looking for? And I was like, I don't want white and I don't want leather. And he pulls up this
I
Ultimate
brought
with
that up.
white and leather. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? I just told
Did
you
you
this
hear
is
me?
not what I wanted.
Yeah, he goes, I can't hear out of this ear.
That's why it's called pre-owned. You don't get to make all those choices. I had a guy tell me
only
that
car
once.
on the
Wow.
lot.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No,
Only car on the lot, right?
a long time ago. Sorry, this is a short story, but I think it's really funny. Like my credit is terrible because like I made some mistakes as a kid, and so I'm trying to get into a car, and so I go to this place like Vista Ridge. It's like way over in Dallas, and I get a ticket on the way there, right? And I'm like,
Set the
this is already,
tempo.
yeah, this is already in a great way. And the guy shows up, and he's wearing a suit that's like doesn't really fit him, and he's wearing a ball cap, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. So we hop on this car, and the driver's side seatbelt doesn't latch, right? I can push the male part in, but it doesn't latch, and like hold it. And I was like, hey man, I don't know that you're allowed to sell me a car that where the seatbelt doesn't work. And he looks at me, he's like, that's why it's called pre-owned, brother. I was like, okay, well,
That's terrible.
I'm not buying this one. I guess his ticket was for nothing.
I love that
Oh
guy.
my god.
So
He's like you tie it around your neck. It just keeps it from flying out. Doesn't save your life. It actually, expedites your demise.
Awesome. All right. So
Get a safety
I feel like after that story, we should just go into the throwdown.
Yeah.
I think we should. I think we're at a good spot.
Awesome. All right. So we're talking about relationships, how to stay top of mind, how to make sure you actually get from the yes to the actual finish line. And for Clint, as D's or construction people, we're gonna let you start. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not in my wheelhouse naturally to want to further a relationship that may or may not have fruit at the end of it. Right? That's like working on a seed that you planted for 9 months and just don't know if it's going to come up or not. Right? It's really tough. And the only way that I know how to really break my own barriers to get through it is to put it in task. Right? There's a reason that I'm doing this. And I think once you see success out of that once or twice, it becomes a lot easier, right? But you'll never see success if you don't ever do it. So you really got to take that chance. You got to put it in your process. It is hands down one of the most important steps in the entire process that you have is after you've gotten a yes or a let's move to the next step. I don't have it for you today, but next time. You'll never have another next time if you just drop it then and there. They're not just going to call you, guys. They've had a process they've been working through for 15 years, and you just broke them out of their paradigm for just a second, and then you dropped it. They're not going to call you back. They're not going to remember you. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, maybe on the one-offs, but typically they're going to go back to their old processes. Oh, what was that guy's name that came in here? Well, you know what? Well, this is called Jeff over there at whatever. We've always done it. It's always worked. So staying in it, staying in the game is hugely important. Now, I will tell you what time, money, resources you invest into that is up to what you can handle, right? It's if you're spending more time on that and not going out and doing other things that have gotten you wins, you need to reevaluate what you're doing. So be cautious of what you can and can't afford to do. Don't spend all your time on getting a maybe and then chasing a maybe for 3 years and letting yeses walk out the door. So be careful there. You've really got to, like I said, it's guys, everything that we're saying, it goes into the process that works for you, and you'll fail and you'll take the failure and you'll make a better process. You'll take the win, you put it in the column and you make a better process. And eventually you have a successful model and you run with it and you trust it. Right.
Awesome. Al?
Just goes back to a lot of what Clint said, but don't have a basket of next one sitting in the corner thinking that you're a success. If you don't have a calendar event or a next step that involves an action on your part back to the sales prospect, then you don't really have anything.
Well, okay. Nanette?
So I think relationship is everything. I think that in sales, I say it every single podcast, but I think if you want to succeed, you need to know, you need to build relationship. I don't think you should go in with the very first meet, just thinking you want the sale. I think you have to go in with starting to build that relationship, and you will succeed. I think it's vital, personally.
Awesome. All right. So as a C, I think that you got to throw the idea that it might make more sense on paper for them to use you than who they're currently using. And you got to throw that out the window and just understand that, as Clint said, some of these habits are really, really deeply ingrained, right? If they've been calling the same partner for 15 years, that's their first thought. So you got to stay top of mind, but you have to balance that with what Clint was talking about being the annoying person who's just begging for work, right? So, you set expectations, you get next steps, like as Al talked about. And then I always frame that as something that I have control over. Okay. So when should we chat again? Okay. Well, let's chat in 2 weeks. Okay. Awesome. If I don't hear from you in 2 weeks, is it okay if I follow up with you? And building, letting them feel in control, like, oh man, I got this person exactly where I want him, but then backfilling that with something that I have control over. But there's no logic in there. And because for a long time, I would just assume, hey, these people are going to call me on the next one. And then, I spent a lot of time waiting for those phone calls to happen, and I got frustrated and decided that that wasn't going to be the way anymore. So awesome. Yeah. All right, everybody. So this is a dope show. I had a lot of fun today. So
too.
Follow us on social media. Everything is at Sales Throwdown. We're all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to take this assessment because you don't know where you are, or maybe you're kind of between a couple of us and you want to know what that looks like, send us an email, assessments@salesthrowdown.com. we'll get you one figured out. If you want us to come work with your team, either internally talking about the internal dynamics around your team and the different personalities there, or maybe work with some of your salespeople about how to figure out where their prospects are, reach out to us. We're happy to have those conversations as well. And we'll see everybody next week.